A San Diego businessman has filed a federal lawsuit aimed at California Governor Gavin Newsom to overturn stay-at-home orders and business closures all throughout the state. He says it's unconstitutional and, quote, there is absolutely no need to further decimate California's economy. Meanwhile, today, Governor Newsom called for an additional $1 trillion in federal aid to try and offset the economic damage. Now, joining me now is the California resident who filed that lawsuit, JD Bols. JD, thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Well, over 2,600 Californians so far have lost their life to this virus, and I understand that you have lost two people close to you because of this virus, and my sincere sympathies there. I do want to get into the fact that in a little over a week from now, it will be 2 months since Governor Gavin Newsom issued that stay-at-home order and shut down the state of California. You say it's unconstitutional. Tell us how you came about this lawsuit to sue the governor and where it stands now. What's the latest?
Okay. As you know, there's a number of lawsuits going around California by different trade associations and different churches and things like that. Ours is the only one that I'm aware of that attacks directly the governor's executive order of March 19th. And that was the stay-at-home order and the order closing most of our businesses. And we argue that the stay-at-home order violated the Fifth Amendment, our freedom as Americans to travel and go about our lives, and that the closing most of our businesses violated the Fifth and 14th Amendment. In addition, we do have some issue with First Amendment violations, such as attempt to ban protests and closing our churches.
So where does it stand now? I mean, we've seen Elon Musk. He's filed a lawsuit against, some state officials, mainly up in Alameda County. We've seen churches, you mentioned. We've seen hair salons, nail salons, all aimed at Governor Newsom. You said yours attacks the head of the beast, so to speak. But where does it stand? What's the latest? Where do we go from here with a lawsuit like this? It's a massive lawsuit.
Yes, that's an excellent question. There are two aspects to the lawsuit. We will be filing either later today or tomorrow a temporary restraining order against the governor's executive order. And that will hopefully be adjudicated within the next week. The courts usually expedite those through the process. And then there would be the main trial to try to make the injunction permanent.
Okay. Well, a lot being said today. We just heard from the president. A lot being said about testing. So far, right now in the White House, what's happening is since the vice president's press secretary tested positive last week, we're seeing a lot of contact tracing in the White House. We're seeing a lot of masks. Everyone wears masks except for the president, and a lot of those measures are being taken. So I would imagine if we were to get people back to work easiest, to just reopen the economy, as far as what you're saying Governor Newsom is missing, is testing everything in your mind?
Well, I think it's important to say that when the governor, before he issued his draconian measures, the executive order, he came out with a very scary letter to President Trump claiming that 25.5 million of us would come down with the coronavirus, just in California, 56% of the population. As we stand here today, 7.5 weeks later, that number is 0.2%. It's not even 1%. So yes, cleanliness is next to godliness. It's washing your hands, taking precautions. If you want to wear a mask, that's great. But I think it's a pandemic, but this is not an epidemic, certainly not in California. So all these measures are fine, but I think we really need to look at it's not that large a problem.
Well, where did he go wrong, do you feel? What was the main point of contention with regards to, obviously many businesses completely shut down for nearly 2 months. Businessmen such as yourself, businesswomen all over the state, just completely frustrated. What should he have done? What direction could we go in now still?
Excellent question. I think what he should have done, and can still do, quite frankly, is we micro-target our resources to people who are either ill, make sure we have proper hospitalization, medical, ventilators, things like that. And the second thing is we micro-target to people who are vulnerable. As we know, most of the people who get sick are susceptible to the disease, and that was true in my family, are older with pre-existing conditions. We need to take care of those folks. The rest of us, though, or amongst the 99.8% of the population that are unaffected by it, need to get back to our lives.
Right. And again, you did lose 2 people that are close to you, and it is about humanity. I want to put a photo up here, JD, and get your reaction to it. And you may have seen this. This is a flight, I believe we have it, from New York to San Francisco. Now, when you see this is a doctor that tweeted out this photo. What is your first reaction? Is this a first sign of normalcy? Does this worry you at all, or does this encourage you?
Well, we don't know specifically on the flight, but again, my guess is 100% of these people do not have COVID on that flight.
Right. Okay. So the measures were taken to get those people on that flight.
Yes, exactly.
And therefore the
airlines. I'm shocked to see a full flight.
Right. And money being spent.
No, that's good. That's
and
good
therefore,
sign.
right. So again, but back to the humanity side of this. A lot of people on that flight, some people worried, and you again have gone through this. And as you file this lawsuit against Governor Newsom, you're not doing it from from a place of well, you're looking at this from your own personal standpoint, and as a businessman, but as a family man who has recently been affected by 2 deaths.
Yes. Well, again, I think we can take care of those who are sick and are vulnerable, and that was certainly true for my family. I feel that very strongly. The key thing we need to remember here is our reaction to COVID is causing enormous damage and destruction to our social fabric. We see spousal abuse is up, domestic disturbances, child abuse, people are depressed, drug and alcohol abuse is up. We even see that people are dying in their homes because they're too afraid to go to the emergency room to get proper medical treatment. Personal friend of mine has prostate cancer, had the hardest time scheduling a surgery to get it removed. So we have to look at all these other things. As far as the Constitution, no one has the right to violate our constitutional rights. And you can say, well, it's an emergency situation, all that. The Constitution doesn't recognize that. But regardless, when we sit here, 99.8% of us don't have this. I think we overreacted. But we can, as you said, we can right the ship. We can take proper measures, cleanliness, identifying the vulnerable population, while the rest of us can safely move about our lives.
Okay, a couple more quick ones. When Governor Newsom tweets out that Californians must take this seriously, that's pinned at the top of his Twitter page. How do you respond to that? As someone who is looking at this from your light and filing this lawsuit, do you take that personally, or are you taking this seriously?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Yeah. We've had 2 deaths in our family, so no one's really felt that more than us, quite frankly. But personal liberty is very important. I moved to this country 32 years ago, and a big part of that was the liberties enshrined in our Constitution. Quite frankly, the governor's trampled over them. We can address a public health situation. We've had world wars. We've had war on terror. We didn't shut down the whole place for that. We're Americans. We figure it out, and we get solutions. He
says 70% of the economy is open. Do you see that? He said that just moments ago. Do you see that?
Well, I know in San Diego County we have 27% unemployment, so if that's the 70% he's referring to, I guess. But no, there's people hurting. I know business associates of mine, tenants of mine are hurting, and they're hurting badly.
All right, finally, if you could say anything to him right now, what would you say?
I would say it's time to change course. It's time to change course. If 99.8% of us don't have it, okay, call it what you did was good. I disagree with it, but it was good. But now we need to change course. All
right, JD Bols, San Diego businessman, suing the governor of California for what he's calling unconstitutional shutting down of California. We appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you so much.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.